So Zack Snyder's Justice League is finally here on HBO Max. All 4 hours of its gloriousness, and I'm here to talk about it, so let's get to it. Now, I purposely waited until I saw this movie twice because I didn't want to be a victim of the moment with all the hype that was going on with this movie. So everything I'm about to say is from the mouth of somebody who's seen this movie twice, both with and without his rose-colored glasses on, and I can honestly say, this is the best movie in the DCEU. So if you're still on the fence about this movie and think that it might just be the same old movie you saw in 2017, let me tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it's not. While the basic plot is the same, the execution of everything is drastically different. As most of you probably already know, this movie has gone through years of issues, trials, tribulations, just anything you can think of that can go wrong with this movie practically did. And at the end of the day, I'm really glad that Zack Snyder got a chance to actually complete the movie that he wanted to do and get his vision out there. Especially since it's a 180 degree in quality when you compare this to the 2017 version. So in my reviews, I discussed what I liked, what I didn't like, and then my overall thoughts. So starting with what I liked about the movie, I love the writing and how all the characters are well fleshed out. What this movie really shows is that when done well, you don't have to go the route of every character in a team-up movie having their own separate movie first. Now personally, I would go that route if it were my choice, but this movie just proves you don't necessarily have to. Aquaman was more fleshed out, but out of the 3 new characters, he was probably the most fleshed out in the original movie, so you really didn't need much more to add to him. The Flash got more love in this movie, and you really get to see his motivations and why he does what he does. The scene in the original movie where he's talking to his father in jail always seemed a bit short to me, like there was more to it than what we actually saw. The way it was presented in the movie seemed more like an Easter egg to fans who already knew his backstory, as opposed to a scene that actually established his backstory. And personally, I'm glad to know that there was way more to that scene that we actually get to see in this version of the movie. Seeing that whole scene play out definitely helped the character of the Flash, and I think it's probably going to be a good lead-in to a solo movie. The biggest character improvement though, hands down, was Cyborg. His development in this movie made this character so much better than what we originally got. And for me personally, he went from a character that I really didn't care about in the original cut of this movie to a character that I was totally invested in. I was never a really big fan of the character of Cyborg in the comics, but this particular movie definitely made me a fan of Ray Fisher's portrayal of that character. Another thing I liked was that all the characters were given purpose in this movie, especially Steppenwolf. My biggest problem with Steppenwolf from the first movie was that he just seemed like way too much of a generic villain. Actually, I take that back. He didn't really seem like a generic villain. He really more so to me seemed like a henchman that went rogue. He seemed like one of Darkseid's henchmen who just decided to go off and do his own thing and just got in way over his head. But in this movie, his purpose was clear, his motivations were well established. He definitely didn't seem like a villain with an Oedipus complex. I don't know how somebody in the studio thought that was a good idea. Even though you know Darkseid is a big boss of everything, Steppenwolf still seemed like a credible threat in this version of the movie. And there's little things that let you know that, like when he's fighting the Amazonians and there's all these arrows stuck in him, and all he does to get the arrows out, he just does a quick little flex and all the arrows break. Oh, okay. You ain't nobody to be played with. It's kind of like in the first Avengers movie where you know that Loki's working for Thanos, but Loki himself is still a credible enough threat to bring all the heroes together. That's what they did with Steppenwolf in this movie. And on top of that, his redesign was a vast improvement from what we got originally. If you're going to be more imposing, you definitely need to look more imposing. But overall, with all the characters, not just with Steppenwolf, everybody seemed like they were moving with more of a purpose and a reason for why they were doing what they were doing. I also liked that the vast majority of the quippy jokes were taken out of this movie. There were still some there. There are jokes sprinkled here and there throughout the movie, but most of them are done by Flash, which I personally think should be the one doing them. I don't want my Batman being playful and joking around. I also really like the action sequences too. Not only was every action sequence expanded upon in some way, but a lot of the music was different too, and it really helps the effect of how the scene plays out. And when it comes to the fight scenes, every single one of them were good, but I really love the ones that Wonder Woman was in. There's this one part where Wonder Woman is about to fight Steppenwolf for the first time, and they're kind of having this little stare down, and then Steppenwolf kind of looks over to kind of gauge how far away his weapon is, and he's like, and then Wonder Woman hits him with this look like, you sure you want to do that? And then Steppenwolf reaches for his weapon and Wonder Woman just takes off at him. It's not just the big things, it's little stuff like that that makes the movie better for me. Something else that I liked was the reasoning that they gave with why they even decided to use the Mother Box to resurrect Superman in the first place. There's a slight tone shift with some of the characters and their overall thoughts of whether or not they should even resurrect Superman, and I think getting rid of that, you get rid of a lot of the unnecessary bickering that goes on with the team. Now admittedly, that did work in the Avengers movie where all the Avengers were kind of bickering back and forth in that room, but I don't think that that was something that was needed in the Justice League, and it was clearly a scene that was reshot by Joss Whedon. Now, as far as what I didn't like about the movie, there was really only one thing that stood out to me as a negative, and it was the use of Martian Manhunter. Now, it was only 2 scenes, so I'm not really going to harp on it too much, but I don't think that those scenes are really necessary to the movie. Now, I'm not going to get into spoilers and break the 2 scenes down, but with the first scene, I did wonder why he even cared enough about Lois Lane to do what he did. And with the second scene, I'm wondering why Bruce Wayne's reaction wasn't totally different. Yo, you just seemed a little too nonchalant about somebody who just said his name was Martian Manhunter. Maybe it's me, but that name is setting off all types of red flags as far as I'm concerned. But something else that wasn't really a negative to me, but I could see it being a negative to some other people, and that's the whole Zack Snyder feel to the movie. Things like slow-mo and fight scenes and long-holding establishing shots. Basically everything Zack Snyder's known for. All that collectively probably accounted for about 10 minutes of this movie's runtime. And some people might not like the 4:3 aspect ratio because they think that it's cutting off the sides, but it's really not. You're really just seeing more of the bottom and the top. So in conclusion, the acting was great, the writing was great, I loved everything about the characters. As someone who grew up a DC Comics fan, this is what I want to see in a DC movie. And I know it might be a hipster thing to say that you're a DC fan nowadays, especially with Marvel just killing the movie industry. But as you can always see with my 3 primary pops, always in my videos, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Trinity, it's not a game. Yeah, I do have a Marvel one here too, but it's Killmonger, come on. All that being said, I'd say this movie is Omega level. Now, I know film is subjective, and even if you didn't like the movie as much as I did, I honestly can't imagine anybody walking out of this movie preferring the 2017 version over this one. Now, if you're not a fan of the DCEU already, particularly because of the Zack Snyder movies, this movie isn't really going to change your mind about that because he pretty much doubles down on everything that he's known for. But if you do like what Zack Snyder's done with the DCEU, you're going to love this movie because he pretty much doubles down on everything that he does. So Zack Snyder's Justice League. Have you seen it yet? What did you think? And also, taking the comic books out of it and just focusing on the DCEU movie universe, who's your favorite character in the Justice League? For me, gotta go Ben Affleck's Batman. Arguably the best Batman we've ever had on screen, and I really hope he changes his mind about coming back to do more movies. Thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing, hit that thumbs up and click that subscribe button to see what's coming next.